Hey, how's it going? Ben here. Great to see you again. Thanks for tuning in. In this video, we're going to be talking about some of the common ways that foreign nationals living in Thailand make money. So I wanted to make a video talking about the different jobs, the different types of professions, the different businesses that are pretty common that I've noticed, some of the jobs I've had, or just some of the jobs I've seen being filled by foreign nationals in Thailand. Now, I wanted to make this video because there are many sectors, there are many industries that are actually restricted and foreigners cannot work in. There are also some rules unique to Thailand about foreigners working in the Kingdom of Thailand, certain things about business that don't exist in other countries. So I thought it'd be cool if you're maybe thinking about moving to Thailand and you want to know what would be your options, what you could possibly go into in the future, perhaps you're already here, and you want to think about some new different ideas of potentially making a living in Thailand. This video is going to be a pretty quick overview of a few different job types, a few different industries that I've seen plenty of foreigners working in, just to help give you a little bit of an idea of the possibilities you potentially have here in the Kingdom of Thailand in terms of making a living. So let's not waste any more time and get straight into it. So we can jump over to the presentation I have prepared and go over some of the common jobs foreigners hold here in Thailand. Work in Thailand. Common jobs in Thailand for foreign nationals. Let's do this. So work in Thailand. Working in a foreign country is tricky to say the least. You will find job restrictions, visa complications, and alien working conditions. So that is the reason I'm making this sort of presentation. There have been a few things I've learned along the way that I thought I would share with you to potentially make your transition, your move that little bit smoother. So here are some of the things that I've noticed that are kind of unique to Thailand. So first up, entire industries are restricted from foreign nationals. So there is a ton of work that it is illegal for foreigners to do in the Kingdom of Thailand. These range from like agricultural work, so it's pretty illegal to do pretty much anything in the farming industry as a foreign national. It's legal for foreigners to own land in Thailand, so you can't grow anything on your own land or anything like that. Other things like more traditional Thai sort of industries like Thai massage, Thai silk, sewing, those kind of things are all very restricted as well. So yeah, you would only be able to work in a lot of industries, quite a large amount, if you're a Thai citizen. So this is done to protect those industries for Thai citizens living in Thailand. So yeah, whatever you think about these types of laws, they exist. And yeah, one of the reasons why I'm making this video is because there are quite a lot of restrictions on a lot of different industries. So it is a little bit hard to know what you can actually do. Not only are certain industries restricted from foreign nationals, but businesses must employ a majority Thai workforce, something else to bear in mind. And businesses must be majority Thai owned. So if you were to work for a company, I think they have to have 3 Thai citizens for every 1 foreign national that are employed. Obviously there are a few, there is a little wiggle room, there are a few changes. There are different industries, have different laws, different restrictions, but as a rule for the majority of businesses, they have to have at least 3 Thai citizens for every 1 foreigner employed. Something else to bear in mind. And all Thai businesses, so if you wanted to make your own business, you would have to find a Thai partner to work or to run that business, to own that business with, and they would have to have a majority ownership of the business. So they would have to have at least a minimum of 51% ownership of your business. So yeah, all of these things potentially make it a little bit hard for foreigners working in Thailand. However, there are plenty of jobs, there are plenty of industries, there are plenty of businesses running in the Kingdom of Thailand where you can make a living. And that's what we'll move on to next and have a look at some of the popular ways I've seen foreigners making a living, working, running a business here in the Kingdom of Thailand. So let's get on to those. And by this point, you're probably asking yourself, so what can I do? What can you do in Thailand for work? Well, let's have a look now. Okay, so the first one is a pretty obvious one. It's probably what most people are doing out here. The majority of the foreign nationals living in Thailand are probably working in the education industry. And one of the obvious things you can do for work in Thailand is teaching. All right, so teaching in Thailand is one of the most common jobs for foreign nationals living in the kingdom, in part due to the high demand for English teachers here. So currently I'm employed by a school. I work as an English teacher. Of the 5 years I've spent living in Thailand, probably 4 of those years, maybe 3.5, I've spent working as an English teacher. So it is a very common job for foreign nationals. In fact, if you went outside and grabbed like the nearest 10 expats, you would probably find that at least a few of them, I'd probably say maybe the majority of those 10 you've grabbed would probably be English teachers. So yeah, the vast majority of people here are working as English teachers. Now there's a few reasons for that. Firstly, there is a high demand for English teachers in Thailand. So there's pretty high demand for English teachers everywhere in the world except for those places that already have a very high level of English. So yeah, I mean, those reasons vary, but usually it's because it is like becoming the international language of business. If you want to get into computer programming, most computer programs are kind of the sort of language is based on English. So you would have to have some rudimental understanding of English. Lots of jobs out here, like doctors. If you want to study to be a doctor, you have to be able to speak English well, because a lot of the material, a lot of the source material, a lot of the books you'd be studying from are written in English, and you have to read the original source in those industries. So yeah, there's lots of reasons why there is such a high demand for English in Thailand, and that's one of the reasons why there are so many schools hiring foreign nationals to teach English specifically. When it comes to teaching in Thailand, you should remember there are a variety of schools and teaching positions. So you do have some wriggle room. You don't have to be an English teacher strictly. You probably will be teaching on an English department, on an English program, but you don't have to be just teaching English classes. You could be a music teacher. You could be teaching history. You could be teaching sport and PE. In those subjects, you would be speaking English and teaching that subject in English, but you aren't restricted to just teaching English like grammar and that kind of thing. You can find positions where you would just be teaching like sports in English. You could find like a vast majority of different jobs. Music, like I said, I've seen foreign music teachers, foreign sport teachers, even like social studies, foreign teachers teaching social studies. So there are a few interesting positions you can find for yourself. So this is another benefit of teaching English. There's a high demand, and there's a few different types of schools you could work for, and quite a few different positions you could get within an English department. So you may be able to find, you may be put off by being an English teacher, however you may be able to find a position more suitable to you. Something that is really good about teaching English is there are well-established channels of employment. And what I mean by that is it's easy to do. It's easy to find work. It's easy to find agencies who will help you find work. The visa route is pretty well established. You're not like treading new ground. You don't need to like find someone who is a specialist to help you. It's pretty well documented, pretty well like known how to get the visa, how to get the work permit. There's plenty of schools who can do all that kind of stuff for you. So there is like this easy route to becoming an English teacher. Like it's not that easy getting all the qualifications, doing all the work. However, when it comes to like moving into the position, there's plenty of people who will help you, especially if you're being employed by a school. So that's a great thing, a great positive about teaching English. So like I mentioned, it is probably the most popular way, but it's not the only way that foreigners or expats living in Thailand make a living. Now, one of the other popular things I see people doing, foreigners specifically, foreign nationals or expats living in Thailand, by means of making a living, is running a restaurant. So especially if it's like foreign food to Thailand. So pizza shops, hamburger places, British fish and chip shops. You will see a lot of those type of restaurants owned by foreign nationals who are like perhaps chefs or restaurant owners or were restaurant owners in their home countries, now bringing their knowledge of foreign food to Thailand and setting up a restaurant here. So potentially, maybe you're a foodie, maybe this is a good route for you. A popular business for foreign nationals to run in Thailand is a restaurant serving food from their home country. This is a lucrative business in tourist areas. So imagine you had a British fish and chip shop in a popular tourist destination where lots of Brits go on holiday, which they do come to Thailand. So yeah, you can imagine this would be very lucrative especially in tourist destinations, all like Italian restaurants, French bakeries. I see a ton of foreign food, especially in those tourist areas. So yeah, this could be potentially a pretty popular and lucrative business idea for you. So authentic foreign food is rare in parts of Thailand, meaning that you could be the first place to open up in your town that's serving authentic foreign food. I remember when I lived in a less visited area. I used to live in the northeastern region of Thailand in Isan, where there's probably the least amount of tourism, and there wasn't that much foreign food. We would have to take trips to Bangkok to get like a British breakfast or something like that. So maybe you could go to an area and be the first only authentic Italian pizza, the first French bakery in that town, and that could potentially be like a niche for you in the market. So there is a lot of opportunity, I think, and there's definitely a lot of people doing this. I see this a lot, like the foreign-owned, foreign-run businesses. As we mentioned in the beginning of this video, and we won't get too much into this in this video, there are some restrictions to remember. So if you were to set up your own business, your own restaurant serving your foreign food, you would need to have a Thai partner, and they would have to have majority ownership to that business. But if you had a trusted Thai partner, this could be a very lucrative and very positive way to make a living here in the Kingdom of Thailand. And yeah, finally, it is a common business for foreigners. Like, I see this a lot, so potentially that means that it's probably a good thing to do. And it's not just food, but also drink. Another common way you see, and this is probably the most famous way foreigners make a living in Thailand, is to open a bar. So you could do that. There are a lot of foreign-owned bars. There are a lot of Irish bars in Thailand. There are a lot of like British-themed pubs. There are a lot of Scandinavian bars in Thailand, a lot of Russian bars in certain areas of Thailand. So yeah, you could start a bar. This is a very popular and a very common way, especially in those tourist areas where foreigners make a living working and running a bar. A popular business for foreign nationals to run in Thailand is a bar, especially in tourist areas. Running a bar anywhere in the world comes with unique challenges, but remains a popular business in Thailand for foreign nationals. So they're popular, especially in tourist areas. I'm sure you've all been on holiday. I'm sure you've all been abroad to a different country and seen like a pub run by someone from your home country. This is definitely true for British people, I'm sure. Definitely true for people from the UK or Ireland. When they go abroad, maybe they'll see an English pub, an Irish pub, or something like styled like one with British or Irish managers or owners. So yeah, this is a very common, very popular thing for people to do. I'm sure it's very lucrative, especially in tourist destinations, especially in that high season. As I'm sure you know, if you've ever traveled anywhere, it is a sight for sore eyes seeing a pub, a British pub, especially if you're a British holiday maker abroad. So yeah, it could be lucrative and it could be popular. It could be a good way if this is the type of industry you could work in. This is potentially a good idea for you. Also, you can build regular customers in areas with expat communities. So like I mentioned, when I lived in a lesser traveled to area of Thailand, there was like two sort of foreign-owned bars in the entire city. And there were quite a lot of expats, not necessarily in the city, but in the broader region, who would all travel in to go to these foreign-owned bars because they would do things like have like pool competitions, they would have trivia nights, they would do Sunday roasts, they would do British breakfast, and it would be like a real sort of expat, foreigner, national living in Thailand sort of vibe. So yeah, you could go there, you could chat to people in English, you could meet new people who were in, you know, similar situation to yourself. So it was a great place to go to, and they drew in great crowds and they built up regular customer bases. One of the bars in that town actually even like ended up sponsoring one of our football teams, all that kind of stuff. And you know, there does become like a strong relationship between the bar and the local regular customers. So that is something potentially really cool about having a business like this. Something else I've noticed is Thailand has a growing demand for craft beers. So when I first moved out to Thailand, I didn't really see like craft beers like ales and that kind of thing in Thailand too much. You still don't see it at the majority of the bars. There isn't like a wide selection of craft ales. But there is a growing industry. I've noticed it a lot. There are a lot of these sort of pubs, a lot of these bars popping up here and there, serving craft beer. So this is potentially something that you could get into as well. Like I don't know if this is just something that I'm noticing, maybe just because I've lived here longer, I'm starting to see these places. But yeah, there does seem to be sort of a growing demand for these sort of craft beers and ales and specialty beers. So yeah, this potentially is a growing industry I see. One job I have also seen foreign nationals doing in Thailand is working in hotels. I've noticed along my travels that often hotels will employ foreign nationals, especially international hotel chains or hotels with foreign restaurants. So one of the first places I saw this was at a hotel in my hometown, my previous hometown, and it was a high-end hotel with a restaurant and bar that served foreign food and sort of specialized in foreign food. It was also the type of hotel that people doing business would stay at, and they had a foreign national. They had someone who worked there who was foreign, welcoming people and explaining the menu, talking about the food, that kind of thing. So I have seen foreign nationals hired by hotels to meet and greet foreign tourists quite a bit. I've also seen like people who have friends who own hotels being hired and working in the hotel. So I think this is an industry that foreigners can work in as long as the other requirements are met that we spoke about before, like the majority Thai staff, majority Thai owned, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, this is potentially a route for some people as well. So you can consider hospitality, specifically hotels. I've definitely seen foreign nationals working in hotels here in Thailand. Hotels may hire foreign nationals to meet and greet foreign guests, as we mentioned. International hotel chains may look to hire foreign nationals to management positions. So this is something else that's pretty cool about this job in Thailand. There are some jobs where there isn't that much room to grow into, like I'm sort of talking about teaching specifically. There isn't like a ladder you can kind of climb. You're sort of stuck in the teaching position. However, I think if you worked at a hotel, especially if it was like a big international chain, maybe you could move to different hotels around the country. Maybe you could start to climb that ladder, and especially with a bigger corporation, they probably have more room for like growth. So yeah, this is potentially a cool job opportunity, I think, working in a hotel here in the Kingdom of Thailand. And one more point on hotels, something that's probably potentially positive for this industry is tourism is one of the largest sectors of the Thai economy. It may be the largest, I'm not sure. I think I remember reading something in the past. I can't remember specifically, but it's definitely one of the largest industries in the Kingdom of Thailand. It's the tourism industry, meaning that there's probably always going to be jobs in tourism, hotels included, I would imagine. So yeah, you'd probably imagine that you would be safe working in a hotel. It's probably a good skill set to have. It's probably a good experience to have on your CV. So yeah, this is potentially, it's not something I know specifically about. I don't actually know anyone personally on a personal level who works in a hotel in Thailand, sadly, so I don't have that much insight to give you. However, I have definitely seen it, so I know it is possible. And maybe this is something where you know more than me about, so perhaps this is something that, yeah, if you have an experience in working in hospitality, hotel specifically, this is definitely an industry you should look into working in if you want to move to Thailand. Next up, we have international businesses. So this is a foreign company, perhaps, or an international company that operates in Thailand. So yeah, the example I know of, I knew some people who worked for a British-based business who did their manufacturing in Thailand, and they hired they wanted some staff who were British or foreign working there, who were native English speakers, I should say, working there so that they could report back to them in their native tongue to the management abroad in the UK. And given that Thailand produces a lot, exports a lot, then yeah, this probably is a growing industry. I think there will be more and more foreign nationals working in Thailand in big international businesses that have operations probably specifically in manufacturing here in the Kingdom of Thailand. So this is potentially a position you could look to as well. I've met a few people working for international businesses operating in Thailand. There's potentially a benefit from a higher salary. So you would probably expect if you were working for a foreign company, an international company, you probably expect that higher salary. I would hope to expect that higher salary. So yeah, maybe this is one of the big benefits for working for a company like this rather than a Thai-based company or working in the education industry. So yeah, potentially you could be on a good salary, especially if you're living in Thailand but being paid a salary that is reasonable for the country of origin of that business. It could be definitely a valuable position to get yourself into. On top of that, I'm sure there are benefits of working for a well-known, established business. Perhaps you get some perks, perhaps it just looks great on your CV to have been working for a large international business. So yeah, this is definitely something that potentially you could look into. I think it would be a little bit difficult to find. I don't know how people like sort of fall into these job positions. Perhaps you'd have to work for the company in a different country and then they will like maybe have an opportunity to move abroad to Thailand and you could take them up on that opportunity. But yeah, it is less common. However, it's not completely out of the question. I've met people who do work for, like I said, international businesses with operations in Thailand. So yeah, potentially something to consider if you're looking at moving to Thailand or if you're looking for what your potential opportunities are going into the future. And finally, how could I not put working online on this list of ways foreigners make money in Thailand? So more and more people are becoming digital nomads. More and more people are working location independent, meaning they probably do all their work online. They don't need to be based in any one city, in any one country. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who make a living working online in the Kingdom of Thailand. Thailand is a popular spot for the new and growing class of people working location independent online, often referred to as digital nomads. The great benefit of this type of work is you work for yourself and you work as you see fit. Location independent, so you can travel when you please. That would be a massive draw for a lot of people. I'm sure that a lot of people dream of working from their laptop and being able to travel around Southeast Asia, Thailand, Vietnam, anywhere. Go where you want, travel where you like, open up your laptop for a few hours and get paid in a currency that is potentially stronger. That's the absolute dream. I'm sure a lot of people have those types of fantasies, and there are plenty of people doing just that, I'm sure. So yeah, this is potentially a route for you to take. Now, laws have not quite caught up with digital nomads in Thailand. And what I mean by that, and this is sort of a point I just wanted to kind of briefly mention, is you will find it difficult in terms of visas, in terms of paying tax and all that kind of stuff, in terms of getting a work permit. It'd be very difficult if you were sort of self-employed online or working for a foreign business online. You're not going to get like the workers, the non-immigrant B visa in Thailand if you're not working for a Thai company. That would be tricky. It'd be difficult to get a work permit unless you get a sponsored work permit, and they're very expensive. So you'd be difficult to find a long-term visa unless you could qualify for some other visa. But even if you did that, even if you could get a long-term visa, a different long-term visa, and then were working online, it's a little bit of a grey area for the law. So, I mean, who would you pay taxes to? All that kind of stuff. How would you pay taxes if you don't have a work permit? So there's a big grey area. I think in the coming years, there's a lot of talk online, there often is, of this new digital nomad visa work permit program. But yeah, we haven't quite got there yet. I think it's still something being worked out. Thailand isn't the only country still trying to figure this out. I'm sure this is a growing problem for a lot of countries as to what to do, because visas are very old. Working online and being a digital nomad is very new, so yeah, it'll take a little bit of time to catch up, I imagine. But I'm sure you could figure out a way if you're determined enough. So yeah, this could potentially be a great way, and I'm sure is already a great way that lots of foreigners living in Thailand make a living, so working online. All right, well, that does conclude this video. I hope you found this video useful. I hope maybe you found it entertaining or anything like that. If you did, consider liking this video. I would greatly appreciate that. And consider subscribing if you live in Thailand or you plan or you're curious about moving to Thailand, because this is what this channel is about. It's about living in Thailand, working in Thailand, traveling in Thailand. So yeah, consider subscribing. That'd be great. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. I will do my best to answer any questions you have. If I can answer those questions, I will do my best to answer them. That's if I can. And as always, I greatly appreciate you watching this video, especially if you made it all the way to the end, and I'll hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.